Hello guys, girls and people of YouTube, and today it's going to be another customizing video. This one's more of a how-to, because I'll try and do it in depth, and it's something you all can take part in at home, because I guarantee you most of you will have one of these, and it's probably sitting on the shelf somewhere gathering dust, and half broken, an eye missing, an ear missing, you know, that kind of thing. So it is of course a 12-inch bronze Dalek. Now obviously the sculpt is hideously inaccurate because from what I know they did two sculpts, but the one that went into production was the inaccurate one and it was a complete balls up. That's from what I've heard anyway. What are you trying to tell me, Kitty? But yeah, they did have a more accurate sculpt, but that one didn't get put into production for some reason. I could be making all of that up, but I'm pretty damn sure that's what happened. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is essentially cleaning it because it's gathered dust over the years, and yeah, it wants to look a bit more supreme than it already does. Luckily I've got both the ear lights, but if you don't, then yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, because either you can cast your own ear lights, meaning you can make a silicone mould for them and then pour in some clear resin. That's a good idea. They wouldn't be electronic unless you put the electronics in, but it would be a nice compromise. Or you could find some on eBay for a ridiculous amount of money, like $7.99 for one or something stupid, because people are very greedy. But yeah, let's get to this. I'll just go through the materials that you will need. So to clean, I'm just going to use a sponge with some hot soapy water, a screwdriver to take it all apart, various brushes just for your details and your general coating, some brown paint, some light blue, camera strap, how very professional, any light blue will do, a black, just a straight up black. This is optional depending on how broken your Dalek is. Some modelling clay or milliput, black shoe polish, which is the essential. You might be thinking what, but I shall explain. Some silver, some white, that's also optional, and here's my eye stalk, which I shall be using the white for, but I'll tell you that in a minute. And some bog roll. Okay, so something to take into account when taking this apart. You won't have the electronics working probably, not that you really need them anyway. I'm just going to rip all the wires out and make it hollow, so let's get to that. We're about 10 minutes in, I've already encountered a problem. So unscrewing the base, I snipped all the electronics, but then I realised there is no way to get to the head without completely hollowing out this section, which is going to be practically impossible. So yeah, the plan of attack is to remove the head just by other means. So now I'm just giving the Dalek a hot soapy bath to get rid of all the dust and the dirt that has collected over the years. Remember, this Dalek is, I think he's about 11 years old, so it's going to get mucky, and you don't really want to be painting over dirt because it won't stick to the plastic properly, and you're just going to run into a few problems. Next up is to paint the base a flat black, ready for weathering. Bell. Shh. What are you doing? Okay, so I think we're at a point now where I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm going to stick with it. So just turn down the aperture. There we go, I know how to use a camera almost. So basically I'm going to be taking off all of the sensor globes. You might be wondering why. Well, I'll explain. The ring around the sensor globes is casted in a bluey grey, which I'm sure everyone should know that they are black and not bluey grey. Why they've done that? It's probably cheaper to cast it in that plastic, I don't know. But it's going to be repainted into black, so that'll be the next step. Now I'm going to give it another wash again to get rid of more dust that's been hiding underneath here. And I need to try and remove that head, otherwise I can't paint this next section properly. At least it will be a lot more difficult. So what I'm planning on doing is cutting that out just with a pair of pliers and then reaching the screwdriver into the head and unscrewing it. He says that, but it's probably going to be extremely difficult. I won't show that because it will require a lot of concentration, but I will come back to you guys with that. As you can see, I've found a screw right there, and hopefully when I unscrew that it should take the head off, and if it doesn't then I'm going to throw this Dalek against the wall. Holy crap guys, that was intense. That was very difficult, but I'll show you now. And his head just fell off. So essentially I just had to keep hacking away at the plastic on the inside because there's a swivel joint which isn't actually screwed in, it's enclosed between the two pieces of plastic which are put together, so it's incredibly difficult to remove. So I just kept hacking away at the plastic and I just pulled on the dome and eventually we got lift off. If you're going to try this, be extremely careful that you don't snap the dome or anything like that. It's possible, I did it before, I remember I did actually end up snapping part of the dome, but yeah, this time it worked fine. So now you can see the dome actually fits a lot more flush onto the head, because before it was kind of like that, just like on all of them, really rigid, but now that it's trimmed down properly it actually rests nicely, so that's excellent. So for weathering the base, what you want to do is squeeze some silver paint out and dip your brush in and then wipe off the excess so you don't have much on your brush left. This allows you to dry brush to create a sense of the black paint over the metal is fading away over time, because Daleks are obviously war creatures. A bit like on a gun when you see that the black paint has come off and you see the exposed metal underneath. Oh god, you kidding me, I have to paint all of these? So next up I have to paint the next section properly. As you can see, it's very untidy, there's a lot of overspray of gold. Just got to touch it up with some black to make it much more uniform, and when it's weathered it will all be blended very nicely. So now is the kind of, I won't say scary, but it's kind of nerve-wracking, because I don't really want to get it wrong, because I don't want to have to wipe all of the shoe polish off and start again. I kind of just want to do this in one go. So yeah, that's what the shoe polish was for. This is for the weathering, to get in the cracks and things, much like you see on the Asylum Dalek that came with the sound effects set. If you compare it to that, that's kind of what it's like, except it's not going to be as extreme because obviously it's not an Asylum Dalek. But the Rusty Davis Daleks did have a black wash all over the body, as in completely all over, apart from the gun and the eye. For some reason they ditched that with the Moffat era. I don't know why, because it looked really cool. But yeah, why did they do anything in the Moffat era? I ask myself that every day. So we're going to need that to dab the excess off. You're going to have to do it fairly quickly because it doesn't dry instantly, but it dries pretty quickly. So I apologise if you miss any of this. I'll just zoom out slightly. So I've just got to dab it all over. I'll just speed it up. This process was very trial and error. I'd often end up putting too much shoe polish on, but that's no problem because you can just get some hot soapy water and scrub it away and try again. Just keep trying until you get the result which works best for you. And without further ado, this is the final reveal. So overall, am I pleased with this? I am absolutely over the moon with how this has come out. It came out a lot better than I thought it would. I honestly thought that the basis that we were given might not work as a good custom, but after completing it, I've found it works very, very well. The weathering really sets it off to a whole new level. Dry brushing on the base adds a whole lot of depth, making it look a lot more metallic. For the people on the eyepiece, I just painted light blue and then with a white on top to give it a little bit of depth and make it look like it was permanently on. The ident underneath the eyepiece, I printed that out and weathered it slightly so it blended in with the rest of the Dalek. And obviously the rings around the sensor globes have been painted black to match the on-screen counterpart. The back I have just left how it is. I didn't bother weathering it anymore because it was fine as is. So like I said, very, very happy with how this has turned out. And next we have a little bit of a bonus. I made it in just under a day. It is the Dalek Sec. Now with this, I washed it much like the other one to get rid of all the dirt and the grease and everything that had built up over the years. And it really brings out the gloss that was originally intended. Because over time, the dust dulls that down and it just doesn't look glossy anymore. I'm sure you all have the same problem with your Dalek Sec figures. I added the ident as well, and if I were to do that bit again, I'd like to print it out in on a glossy card so it matches the rest of the dome. And I also printed out an eye insert for this one, just a little bit of an experiment, and I think that worked pretty well. I'd like to go over that with a gloss paint as well. I also applied the same dry brushing technique on the base, really setting it off and making it look more metallic. And yeah, since it's Dalek Sec, there's not much weathering to go on, but I think I've done it justice. So thanks for watching, guys, I really appreciate it. I am honestly thinking of offering repair services for 12-inch Daleks. If any of you have any spare that you just have lying around gathering dust, send them over and I will happily refurbish them for you. Even if they don't have an eye stalk or ear lights, I am working on a solution for that. I'm not sure how much I'm going to charge yet. Obviously I'm not going to do it for free because it's kind of time consuming and I cut myself a few times and I got to pay for resources, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. I'll probably do an update video on this once I've casted all of the earpieces and the spare eye stalks, officially announcing this service, but I think it would be a really cool idea. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.